It was my fault.
Discord is that? It's cool.
Yeah, I'm ready. It's cool. We
Okay,
can do whatever you want to do. I don't know.
And Frosty, Kaz, you both ready?
Yeah.
We are set.
Okay, cool. Then we should probably start off with something like, welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 314. It's Friday night. It's the weekend. I am super excited to be here. And with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben. It is Friday night here in Azeroth, and I am happy to be joining you at the round table. There's more energy this week. You know why? Because not everything's broken. Last week, everything broken, including me as a human being. But not this week. This week, it's all better. It's all good.
That's right.
It's all gravy. We made it, and we're not alone.
We made the gravy?
You made gravy?
I like gravy.
I don't know. You said we made it.
John Jagger, the Arizona Hammer.
I like that.
Yep, that's what they call me. That's just what it's just what they know me as around these parts when I have to throw my weight around.
Yeah.
When you gotta throw down.
You are right, John. We are not alone. We are joined by some of the best people you will ever meet, Frosty and Kaz. Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, well, thank you. We're doing great.
Yeah, it's going good.
That is fantastic. I'm always happy to hear that, and I'm always happy to have you guys on. So now I'm going to get down and gritty and ask you a question that might break you.
Oh, right off the bat. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
First, he insults the quality of our guests, maybe with the greatest people you'll ever meet. I'm not sure if that was a compliment, a slight. I don't know what that was. And then he's like, and now I will break you. He just turns into the Ivan
Now I will break
Drago
you.
of podcasting as soon as he gets a little...
Well, you didn't see my training montage. It was pretty brutal. But, so, okay. You guys have been on a few times. We know that you're Alliance players and that, you know, you enjoy that side and everything. And
Yeah.
that, you know, Gen's a cool guy and all that stuff. We're not exactly talking about that. What we are, or what I want to know, though, is that, so allied races are a thing. They're constantly adding new ones to the game and everything.
Yeah.
And I was going through thinking of, you know, all the different things that I've done on the Horde side and quested and, you know, all the different allied races that potentially could join. And if the Volpira are added to the Horde, where's that going to leave you two?
Well, I would make a Volpera. So, yeah. Pretty sure my priest would become Horde at that point.
I'm already like now I haven't been able to play for a little bit, so I'm not prepared, but I really want a Zandalari troll. So there's like really tempting things on the board.
I think you're slowly enticing us. What else you got?
I mean, that's all this game has really ever been, right? Is just like trying to convince people to join the other faction.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So it's always been a case of just like, hey, you know, Alliance, you've got a lot of pretty races. What if you got a Worgen? What if you got a Draenei? What if you got some monster-looking races?
What if we got some snake people?
Oh yeah, that's
Hmm.
that's another question, you know. Or what if we got some bird people? Erico is always that race that people throw out there. We don't ever know if it would actually be an allied race, but I'm pretty sure wherever that race went, that's where you'd find her at this point. Like whatever happened.
Okay, that's cool. And so here's one of the things that I was kind of, you know, really kind of leaning towards. I'm not, you know, going to be all like Horde versus Alliance and stuff because, I mean, to tell you the truth, I've been playing a ton on my Alliance monk lately, kind of just going through leveling and stuff. In fact, I just finished Tierguard Sound yesterday, at least got
Nice.
the report and stuff. That's a freaking cool quest line, by the way. Like
Yeah,
that's the place to start. It's good.
That
But
was the last zone we did, and we were like, man, this is an awesome story. We missed out on that.
Yeah.
well, and the thing is I didn't even finish like the Jaina storyline. Like I finished that first, and I ended up with the I guess the squid stuff. We'll just say That's where I actually ended the story. I'm like, oh, this is a really good ending to this to the zone. So yeah, there's some good stuff happening over there.
Yeah.
It really got me thinking a lot about, identification and how you identify in the game, whether it be, Horde Alliance, or if you really are kind of identifying more with the race class choices you've started playing and stuff. And I know, John, you and I have talked about this, a bunch all over the place, scattered throughout the series of podcasts that we've done. But the fact that I'm actually playing an Alliance Monk, Pandaren Monk, I'm essentially the same everything except for I've got a streak of red as opposed to a streak of blue, which is kind of nice because I'm like, okay, I totally identify with this. And I'm like jumping back and forth between factions and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm so much more Pandaren Monk than I am anything else.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to I don't know if being like fluid is the right word or not, but like I'm curious as to how you identify yourselves. Like, is it a faction? Is it a race? Is it a play, like a class? Like it's just one of those things.
I don't know. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. For me, I'm a mage through and through. Like, I keep trying other classes, and I would give shaman a little bit more of a chance, but I don't like any of the races that can be shaman on the alliance side.
Nothing wrong with that.
So it's a little bit of both for me. But I really do love mage. In fact, with my Battle for Azeroth boost that I got, I finally boosted a troll mage for playing on the horde side, just because I'm like, I'm really terrible at learning these other classes, so I'm just gonna play mage and build it the exact same way on each side.
Well,
That was the strategy.
that's totally what I did too with my monk. There've been, I mean, I don't play with anybody else on the alliance side, so it's like I'm not really healing other people other than myself. I could be a tank, I could be DPS, whatever. I'm just walking around. I'm like, I'm invincible. It just takes me a while to kill stuff, but I'm invincible. So,
Yeah.
I totally get that.
So for me, like the classes is probably the most important. Secondary, like the race, it's also important because there's races that I just don't want to play, just because.
I think it kind of sounds the same for me. I mean, I play a lot of different classes, but mostly Druid. And you look back at the story of the game, and Druids traditionally kind of are almost like a pseudo faction of their own in some parts of the story and things like that. And so I don't, you know, I kind of feel more beholden to being a part of the Druid class than anything else. And being a Worgen is just a little perk on top of that. So.
Which I really loved Legion for that reason, because like your class was so important, and that made me like so much more hype about being a mage. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think that was the thing for me as well, was Legion. When you take a look and boil it down, because I've been thinking about it a lot. What were the things that made Legion feel like such a stellar expansion? What are the things that I feel like I wish I was getting a little more of this go around? And I think the primary thing, like, there's a lot of things I can say, oh, I missed this, or I wish this was there. But the thing for me that just really grabs me was that feeling of, you know what, I'm a rogue. I'm the best class in this game, and the game finally is recognizing that. And I'm getting I'm getting the experience that I deserve.
We live in a sewer, but we're the best.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that sewer has secret passages, and that's just cool.
It's a pretty nice sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to really come around on the sewer, but I got there. They put up enough chandeliers and painted enough walls that I was like, okay, all right, we can do this. There's a treasure room, I guess. Whatever. What else do you need? But yeah, it really helped to have that class identity, because I think I'm the same way, is that I don't care ultimately, and it's funny because we got an email about this, and I don't know if we're going to dive into it anymore or not, but ultimately, if you really just like caught me in a room and said, John, I want to hear what you genuinely think about the factions, I'd be like, I don't care. Like, for all my bluster about For the Horde and the Alliance sucks and all of that, the truth is, I really don't care.
The only time that I do care about the factions is when you have PvP enabled.
Yeah.
Because then it's always like, the stupid horde, they keep ganking me. I want to just finish this quest.
I want to kill them all.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, just there are different times in, the thoughts and feelings about faction pride and stuff have actually, I would say, changed a bunch over the course of the game. So, when it first came out, it was, very tribal, very Alliance versus Horde. Back in Burning Crusade, when I actually started playing, definitely. The game is still kind of in its infancy. Well, I mean, at this point, it's like, God, I was a teenager. I just realized that. Anyways, it was still, okay, it was a toddler, whatever. But it does the whole, okay, you really care about your faction, everything's going like that. Wrath happened, and that's kind of when we started, working together a little bit more, even though we still didn't like each other. And ever since then, it's been a lot more fluid, it seems. Like, almost like when they added achievements into Wrath of the Lich King and then they made the double agent achievement, people are just kind of like, oh, I'll play the other side so I can get an achievement. That's the big draw here. And then you realize, okay, well, most of the game is the exact same thing on both factions. And, especially, oh man, I kind of breaking my train of thought here. I wanted to level up in Legion in Storm, whatever the Storm place was, which I can't think of the name. Stormsong Valley, something like that.
Stormheim.
Stormheim, yeah.
Stormheim. I'm not.
Storm Peaks is not the expansion.
Yeah. So, anyways, Stormheim. I wanted to level up there because that's like the only zone that actually had faction-specific stuff, and you're in and out of that like within the first intro quest, and like that's it. And I'm just kind of like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. And then we break to Battle for Azeroth, and we have our entire own little, like, string of islands and stuff. Now, of course, us on the Horde side are being kind of made out to be villains. The Alliance side is being made out to be the heroes and everything. And just out of curiosity, are you guys seeing a lot more faction pride now than maybe previously from when you've played?
I don't know if I'm seeing more faction pride, to be honest. I mean, even being Alliance, I don't see us boasting about being so great or anything like that, because I think we also still like see the flaws inherent in like the things the Alliance does, even though they might be different magnitudes nowadays. We don't know what could be around the corner for us, so I think we're kind of scared that we could be doing something pretty horrendous as well in the future. So.
Yeah, I think that, like, just from my view of like the Twitter community, lots of people in the community are kind of angry at the factions right now, and it seems like there's more people upset about having to be in each faction. I know that there is, to me, it seems like on the Horde side, it's like everybody's angry at Sylvanas. You have those few little people that are like, yeah, she's my war chief forever, but pretty much everybody's like kind of upset at Sylvanas or angry at Sarfang for being a traitor. So it's like I just see the Horde is in chaos right now, and so
it's one of those things where like you think about the factions, and we had Horde versus Alliance for so long, and it's been kind of integrated into the story of different ways. And like you said, oh, we're going to band together to fight this greater evil, and then we fought a greater evil together, and then an even greater evil, and then we saved the entire planet, together. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, like let's fall back to this story for a while. And I think it's like having different factions is a great tool. I don't know if maybe it's time for the Horde and Alliance to go their separate ways and us to have a new set of factions or something like that. We've said we hear the rumblings every expansion that somebody's going to be like, oh, is there going to be another faction like that people can play as? But never materializes. But maybe maybe one day it could actually happen, or they just we dissolve into tribes or something. Who knows?
I'd love it because it's. I don't want to speak for the Alliance because I may have just said that I don't care, but I know that I don't play enough Alliance to speak for them as a people. But I kind of feel like if I was them, I'd be pretty disappointed in the story that they're getting this go around, at least from my outside perspective, because when this was all set up, you know, the promise that we were sold on was this notion of Horde versus Alliance. We know we always tell this story of you guys banding together and fighting a common enemy, but this is the expansion. It's you versus each other, going at it. We're going to decide it. We're going to have a battle, a throwdown. And everybody more or less initially was like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. We've been doing this a lot, but let's do it again. Let's just go with it. And then I feel like, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I feel like the story ultimately became, here's a really interesting story about internal Horde conflict and them fighting with each other, and occasionally the Alliance shows up. And everybody kind of goes, oh yeah. And then they go back to fighting internally amongst ourselves, and we're like, yeah, Horde versus Horde. I'm with Sylvanas. I'm with Sourfang. I think you suck. I think you suck. And meanwhile, the Alliance is like, hey guys, remember we're part of the faction war too? And the Horde's like, shut up, we're busy. We got stuff to figure out over here.
I kind of feel like that way from the Alliance side, even, because it's like, you know, a lot of the stories that we do, like a lot of the story part has been like, oh, we got to do this, so we're like, you know, we have the Horde in check, but we don't really ever interact with the Horde, and then every once in a while we like have this little brush, like you said, with them, but then it's kind of like, all right, well, let's just go do something else for a little while, and you know,
Yeah, go save Jaina.
yeah, go save Jaina for a while, or
right, and maybe there is some value in, well, I didn't have to participate in it because I personally, that was not the direction I wanted the story to go. I've told this story on the show before that I kind of had to put my foot in my mouth at BlizzCon because the day before the expansion was announced, I was talking to a Blizzard dev and said, I just hope it's not Horde versus Alliance. Because I'm so sick of that conflict. They just
You're
need
like,
to put it to rest. And I didn't know why I got the look I got, but I do now. And but I mean, that's the truth. That's where I was. I do think the conflict is dumb. I think that if we lived in a world where MMOs were still getting put out on a regular basis, I think it's time for MMOs to drop the whole, hey, we split you into factions to explain PvP. You know what? Just let people fight each other. They don't need a reason. Just let them go. It's.
Yeah, but John, if they did that, how would we know who would lose Alterac Valley?
Guess what, Ben? It might be more even because it'd be a coin toss.
it'll just be like playing, you know, Rocket League. You know, red team wins. Like
It'll be whoever captures the objective first, because you see the 3 lanes get pushed really hard when the minions spawn, and so you've got a really good chance to win. I mean, ultimately, you're probably going to get up to level 20, and whoever wipes the enemy team first, that's going to be the faction that wins.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's all about
like,
level 20, Ben.
Gotta get those storm talents.
Yeah.
It's all about those. But I mean, like, what if this is like all like just a big secret trick to make us hate factions, and then at the end, like, we all just become one big faction, and we have to elect a new leader at the end of the expansion,
Well,
and there's a fan vote.
Sylvanas is gonna win, and then everyone's gonna be mad, because here's the thing about Sylvanas is she's incredibly popular, but not out in the public. She's the kind of person that you're like, yeah, I kind of like Sylvanas, and you're like, yeah, I know, but don't tell anybody.
Oh no, I don't want to be.
If we know anything about the internet, is that putting things to public votes always ends badly.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that it'll just end up being Gallywix because he'll just pay for the votes, you know.
Oh, Gallywix,
we're just
man.
gonna get a new character, named, Chiefy McChief Face. Yeah, I don't know, like the idea of having a third faction being like, I don't know, like, or something like that. You know, it's like it's all the adventurers who've gone out and done all of the work. You know, we're the ones who have saved the planet multiple times. You know, we're just kind of over that. I don't know, but I just don't see a third faction actually happening unless we're finally able to like communicate across like language barriers that, you know, First of all, I find it absolutely amazing that every single main character in the game is able to speak the same language and talk to each other. That's never an issue. But when I'm walking around and a human's laughing, all I see is bird, bird, bird.
That's the sound of a human laughing. Haven't you ever heard a human laugh?
Right.
That's why we don't play humans.
Yeah.
Even we think they're
But
ridiculous.
we're kind
Burr,
of humans.
burr, 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 burr.
It's gonna be my new like alarm tone now.
Well, I don't think the Warcraft will ever break up the factions. Like, yeah, that's how we as players feel, but can you imagine like humans and orcs living in a village together? No, that's never gonna happen. And like lore wise, I can't see them ever figuring out a way to justify that.
Yeah, it would be an interesting, way to
Like-
start new stories, though.
Maybe if they if they made the next expansion or like a WoW 2 that was like hundreds, thousands of years in the future, then that could happen. but-
After Ajara decimated the face of Azeroth, all the races had to live together,
Exactly.
banding it together in camps somewhere. Like that's why we have to live together, is because like the world has just basically been like destroyed. We have nothing left. Post-apocalyptic Azeroth. There we go.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. That's what we need more of. I don't know. I just think there's the problem is when they say like, oh, this is going to be the final. This is the big ultimate throwdown. And if I choose to believe them, then I get really excited for whatever the next expansion is. It's like somebody telling you we've got one more rest stop before we get to Disneyland. You're like, sweet. You're not really excited about the rest stop. You're just excited about how close you are to Disneyland. And that's kind of how I felt with the whole, like, hey, guys, this will be the time that we decide the faction war. And it's like, okay, Sourfang, whatever. Sylvanas, whatever. Horde wins, Alliance wins. Who cares? Let's just get it out of the way. Apparently, it's something that we haven't been able to explain, even though we've put those differences beside a billion times. That's hyperbolic. And now we all get along, but no, let's do it one more time. Drag everybody out, have a big throwdown, and move on. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's all save the planet again, too. Afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and what if there's a big bad thing that you all have to fight? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, there's no more left. What are you talking about? There's no more of those.
Right. They haven't talked
Come on,
about
there's
any. They haven't teased any.
There's no more evils like left out there.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I mean, everybody talks about it, and I don't wanna hit it too many times here, beat it up, because everybody does. But it's just one of those things. It's not the most interesting. I'd rather find out why mages are awesome, why rogues are awesome, why shamans are awesome, to kind of bring it back. And I know that's a lot of work, and I know that's got to be some frustrating work for them, because it's not content that everybody gets to see. I mean, at least if you do it faction, you can say, all right, well, 50% of the player base, it's not that even, but 50% of the player base will see the Alliance stuff, and 50% of the player base will see the Horde stuff. And between the two, we got a decent overlap where people will see 100%, and that'll be good. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that's exciting. I feel like seeing my class really stand out was exciting. And I don't know if cheering for a faction that is now engulfed once again in internal strife is really all that exciting anymore.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we still had, like the faction order halls, like as a prominent piece. I mean, they had such great stories with them, and I pictured like at the end of last expansion, instead of what we did end up with, I kind of pictured some last war where every class was kind of like grouped up, and we all were running to fight Sargeras, like with groups of our own class, no matter the faction, taking him down, kind of like in this grand battle or something. But didn't really end up happening that way, I guess. But
No, what would have been awesome is if they had, I mean, yeah, the Sargeras fight. Like, first of all, that was a very cool fight. I'm actually very happy with that. I don't want that to go unsaid.
yes,
Now, this is how I would make it even cooler. So I don't know, just something that, like you said, each class had something that they had to do to contribute. Kind of like how in Old War when we went through and decided that either okay, let's have the Guardians help us or not. Like basically do something similar where all the different factions do something to either restrain him or make an ability that he does just completely null and void or something like I don't know, all the priests throw a holy bubble when he does a big meteorite move or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you can make it like how mythic raiders are always just as so amazingly good at what they do. Have different levels of mythic rating at that point because it's like, okay, well, let's not use the priest this time, and oh, we got world first for that, and let's not use this time or something like that.
I
Yep.
kind of love that idea. That's super good. Like, I like the idea that we all go in and maybe as a class you get a little button that nullifies an ability. And maybe on lower difficulties, some guy shows up and is like, "Hello, I'm Greg. I'm your shaman because you didn't bring one." And he's able to nullify it for you, but maybe you don't get those benefits on higher difficulties. And I mean, I know it gets into a weird place where it's like, now you've got the Mythic Raiders who would probably be like, well, it's not fair. We don't run with every single class in the game. We're being
But then they would
penalized,
have to.
Blizzard.
Well, look at it this way: Mythic Raiders, they cheese their comp as much as they can for like specific fights and stuff anyway.
That's true.
So if you make it so that you kind of need every class in there,
I like
gives
it.
it something to do.
That is a really cool idea.
Goes to do a big move, or Rogue just stabs him in the back. It's like, nah, not today.
He's like,
I need my back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, any time that you can incorporate, so much more of just that epic feeling and stuff, because I really do think that Legion probably captured it best. That you were important to everything, and I mean, as much as I love the artifact weapons and artifact weapons, right? Why am I thinking artifact armor? No, that's Final Fantasy. But yeah, the artifact weapons. I still miss having that as a thing. And I mean, this isn't a bash on the necklace or the Azurite pieces or anything like that, but it's something that had me stand apart story-wise. I mean, granted, you've seen the meme where it's like, the Aladdin guard's like, he's got the Ashbringer, and shows a boo, he's got the Ashbringer. And then they're all, we've all got Ashbringers.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I get that, but at the same time, they had enough customization that it did feel, for the most part, that like you were the only one kind of carrying it around. But even more so, it tied so much into the story and everything involved that was going on. Like, I just loved the feeling that I mattered at that point. And yeah, I leveled so many characters through and everything. And yeah, it's the same story for each of them, but I don't care because every single one felt special because of that little bit of class storyline and everything that was put together. And
Yeah.
I just like I really am enjoying Battle for Azeroth. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it just doesn't give the same feeling that Legion did for including you in everything.
I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of like a soldier now again in some like war, like being ordered around. Like whereas before it was like, we need you to save Azeroth. Now it's like, hey, we just need you to go like, kill some horde or whatever. Hey, that's cool that you like, saved us all. Just got some other stuff for you to do. Just go hang out and do this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a giant sword down in Silithus, but whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, no big deal.
I found the perfect comparison to this, and now I think I have spoilers for World of Warcraft. So prepare yourself. I figured it out. I was trying to think, is there any other battles or fictional stories we can pull from where very powerful entities, known for their great abilities and prowess, were suddenly forced into the army to just run alongside the rank and file and fight? And I could only think of one. That is, of course, the Clone Wars. So, spoilers, coming up in a future patch, the War Chief and Anduin, I don't remember what his title is.
King.
King,
yeah. King Anduin.
They're gonna order all the troops to turn on us, and everyone but one player will die.
Well,
Okay.
technically two. technically.
So will it look something like the Matrix 2 when Neo's just fighting all the Agent Smiths? There's just,
Yeah.
like a bunch of Alliance footmen trying to take me down, and they're just like being knocked up into the air.
That'd be so cool, right? Now I kind of want it to happen. Just all the orcs are just like, it's just, oh, okay, we gotta do this.
You know what? There are some Horde players who might be able to actually experience the storyline, and those are the ones who stuck with Starfang.
There you go.
All of a sudden, I'm like, that sounds like a really cool story.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Sylvanas would be the Emperor equivalent, which means anybody who picked her on all the big decisions, congratulations, you're Vader. We did it.
Yay!
Yeah, yay.
I mean, it does cost an arm and a leg, but John, you don't need to make that face. That's your disappointed face. I know that face. I see it all the time.
He's like, all right, moving on.
Let's try spinning. That's a good trick.
But it's it is an interesting discussion though. Like, what is the right future for factions at this point? Like in the game, like, they're so ingrained in the game. Is it like the backpack, and they can't change anything about factions because it's so ingrained in the code it would just break the game? And so maybe they just don't want to tell us that at this point.
Okay, Kaz, very serious and important question for you.
Okay.
Would you like a larger backpack or a third faction that's neutral? We can do one, only one.
I would take the backpack.
Maybe they could like hard code like faction changing everyone to one faction, but what faction would they change to on the background to like make it work? That's the other question. Then, like, would they just like under in the code just change everybody to Alliance flagged like somehow, and it would break a million other
Then
things?
would that make all the Horde players angry when they?
No,
found out?
they'd in the background they'd have to do Horde Lions or something like that.
Look, okay. I know people are going to think I said this for a different reason. And I know this is going to maybe even get another email at me for talking about my faction. But if they narrowed it down to one, everybody still gets to play their character. You still get to be humans and gnomes and what other weird races you want to play. You still get all that. You still have your cities, but there's just going to be one name. We're unifying. Like, it's gonna be the Horde, right? Like, that's the one that has the cool name. That's the one that's got the cool for the Horde. The Alliance just yells it because it's what we yell.
But it would be literally the Alliance at that point, right? Unless we weren't allied.
Now, it would technically be an alliance, but everybody would still want it to be the Horde.
The congregation.
No, that's too religious.
It's too religious.
Nobody wants to yell for the
amalgamation.
Alliance.
The trade partners.
Because every time you yell for the Alliance, you're basically yelling, "We got a slogan too." Like, it's...
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's pretty much where it started. So
it really is, because, like, okay, so do you remember Wrathgate, where it's this, awesome, beautiful cinematic, and all these Alliance characters are running up, and for Omegon, for Ironforge, for everything. Then all of a sudden, for the Horde, like just all unified and everything. There's something to that. Plus, it's kind of scary. It's like if you're on the battlefield, you're like, "Yay, we're fighting!" and all of a sudden, this massive force all in unison yells for the Horde at the same time. It's like, oh, I need to change my armor.
Yeah.
Hey guys, like who should we yell about? I don't know. Like,
I don't know. It was a really cool moment in Legion when Varian was like, "For the Alliance." That was a cool moment.
Super
so
cool.
I like the Alliance.
It was super cool the way he took the Horde's catchphrase and put his thing in it. It's like if I started a shoe company and was like, "Just did it." It's not horrible. It's maybe not original, but...
Well, no, it's horrible because now I want to know what you did.
You know what I did. Look at these shoes. You tell me what I did.
It's
Well,
definitely
if we stick with like the Legion ideas, like what if it was like classes like for the druids,
for the Earth Mother.
For the trees.
for the trees, yeah. Now we didn't come up with like a slogan for every class.
Yeah, we got to do that now. For the elements. Demon hunters are hard because you can't really go for the demons.
No, you'd say for killing demons.
So that like Death Knights would just be like for death,
no, for the Lich King.
for the Lich King. Can we? Is the Lich King? What role is he going to play coming up here? You know.
I am so excited for that. Whatever it is.
Spinning to that, like speaking of the Lich King,
Especially with his daughter in the story now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, cool! I'm looking forward to that. Whatever that is.
Spoilers
Oh,
for
dang
that.
it. Sorry.
Wait a minute. What daughter?
Well, he has an undead daughter made of fire and frost.
That's a cool thing on the Alliance side in the story.
That's what we got. That's right.
Hey, John, the Alliance gets story too. Did you know this?
No. Who's his daughter?
What's her name again?
That cool lady. I met her, right?
The big hammer.
She's like near the beginning.
Yeah.
She's undead?
No.
Oh, I thought you said she died. I was like, what?
No, I was making that part up.
Oh. What's she
Because
doing?
he's dead. It's
So what's
fire.
she doing now?
That's I don't know what she's doing right now. She's waiting.
the Jaina's mom like promoted her.
Oh
at the
yeah,
end of the
that's right.
story.
She
That's
got
right.
a
Man.
she got a
So,
new job.
so now
That's
she's an
exciting.
important person. And so yeah.
I don't know.
anyways.
He's just gonna.
I was just trying to think of what she was doing. I don't know.
On his little throne, going, "I caught a fish this big."
She helped us find Jaina, and then therefore was rewarded because she was kind of like an outcast before that.
She'll save us.
Man, I gotta.
She's gonna be the pivotal one who
questing.
saves us all.
I just unlocked World Quest like yesterday. I gotta do more.
Are you playing WoW right now, Ben?
No, no, I'm not.
Like I
was walking
just
back and
unlocked
forth,
World.
and then hair fell over, so that's why I went like this. And no, I said last night I just unlocked World Quest,
Oh, okay.
but I'm totally playing right now.
Okay.
Just kidding, but I'm totally know what I'm doing after the show now.
All right.
He's
Well,
like,
I
well, I
just
know what I'm doing for the next 2 days straight. Getting through these stories.
And Alessander, like if I can't remember anything about it, it's because I've not played the game or hardly played the game all through January, February, and most of March because I couldn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
why.
and on top of that too, Blizzard has this thing where they tell a really interesting story and then forget about it for months.
Yeah. Also,
So-
probably her last name's Four Dragon, right?
Yeah.
All right. Lady Four Dragon. Named her.
Hey.
I didn't even play the faction. Got it. Did it with context
And
clues.
WoW
It's
has
all
a
coming
billion
together.
characters.
Yeah, Kaz, you are right. There's way too many characters. Like even just like the tiny little side characters, and I mean, okay, so just going through Borealis or however you say it, so many people are named. I have no idea who anybody is. The only thing I do when I'm there, I'm just like, oh, there's a quest over there, or I think that's how I get to the ship, and like that's all I do. I have not figured that area out yet. And all I know is that it's like, okay, sometimes I have to go on the wall to go over this, and okay, there's water there.
They made it easier to get over the wall, though. So
Oh, okay. See, I don't even
it
know
used
that.
to be harder.
But I do enjoy the fact there's like 30 flight points just in Borealis. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the shit points.
Chat room wants to know where's Kalia, and I just want to say that going forward, I think it's important that whenever Kalia is not on screen, people are either talking about Kalia or asking where Kalia is at all times.
Oh, okay.
She
And
should-
then when we're done with her, she just flies off to the moon.
Yes. I'm sorry, I have to go. Boo, off she goes.
So one like side thing about factions though, what about with the new raid and like the kind of split story raid experience that we get? What do you think about that?
So, question: have either of you two done that? Either like main rating, LFR, anything like that?
We've done it like on the Alliance side. I don't
Yeah.
even know what the Horde side is like.
Yeah, she's done like Mecha Torque so far.
Oh, that's such a fun
where she got to
fight.
become a Horde character.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we need to fill John in on the Mechatork fight because it's pretty fantastic.
I thought you were about to say pretty spooky, and I was like,
I don't even know where I was going with that. My mind was
I
just,
love
like,
that
getting ahead
my
of itself.
role has just become. We want to talk about a raid fight. John clearly hasn't done it. We can explain it to him.
Hey, John, have you done the Mechatork fight?
No, Ben, I haven't.
Okay, well, since that's sarcasm, then obviously you have. I'll just, that's a really cool fight.
Okay, great.
just know that like we have a number of colorblind people on our raid team,
Me too.
so it makes it quite a bit more challenging.
John, you get why that would be challenging because you've done the fight, right?
Yeah, colorblindness would really put a damper on that fight, or a hamper, for clothes, because that also relates to what we're talking about.
Especially when all of them get that certain thing that happens to them that
know.
John knows all about.
That's my favorite part of the fight. Are you kidding? When you have to move because of the thing? I thought at first I'd be able to hold still for the fight, and then all of a sudden I was like, what is this? I need to move. But you all know.
Oh.
So anyways, in this fight, there's little robots that like walk around and have like a circle around them that'll shock you and stuff.
Right.
And throughout the fight,
I
you
didn't
get
think
shrunk.
they'd come up to me.
Oh no, they did.
Yeah, I know.
But,
I had to move.
Yeah. So during the fight, like a few members of the raid, they get shrunk. And then you have to run up and you jump inside the robot, and then you like click in a code that only people outside of the robot can see, hence the colors that you need to know.
So somebody
And
like
then-
has to call it out for you.
Oh,
yeah,
so
it's
it's like keep talking and nobody don't
Explodes.
Yeah, kind of.
nobody explodes if you keep talking. The game.
Wow,
Yeah,
edition.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like there's 3 sequences that you have to put in, and for some reason the first 2 will come really fast, and the third one you wait a while. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. But it's like and there's symbols that go along with it to help the colorblind people, which is thank goodness a thing.
Yeah.
But so you click that in, and then you hit another one, then it gets rid of the robot on the field. So
All right.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it's
Gotta play a little
it's
hacking
an
game.
awesome fight. Awesome fight.
So in,
But,
in voice chat, it's just constantly people yelling out, "Chicken, gear, spring, gear."
How does this work in LFR?
It just doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah, it
great.
just-
It happens in LFR.
Wow.
That's about it.
It kind of happens in LFR like everything else happens in LFR. Like
Yeah, it's
somehow
not,
the boss
chaos.
dies, and I don't know how.
It's not horrible in LFR. It just happens.
If you don't kill it fast enough, eventually one time you respawn, someone smacks it once, and they go, "Oh!" And then you progress the story on further.
Or
Pretty
it's like
much.
the previous raid. You just get to you get to the last boss, like Cahoon. Everybody just leaves the raid because they already know it's just not going to get done. You're like, all right, we're going to be here for about 3 hours just to get one group together that's going to run orbs. I guess we'll just AFK out of this.
Mhm.
See, that's how I knew I was in trouble. Was I hit the point where even the LFR mode for the raiding was it just wasn't fun for me anymore. Like that was the thing. Is it was like back in the day. I love raiding with my friends. Let me just say that I do like it, but it's very hard to find the time. It's
You
very
see how
time
he
to
went
get
from
all-
love.
Yeah, I
to
thought more
like,
about it, and I was like,
super fast?
let's reel that in a little bit.
By the end of this, he's gonna hate it.
Came out with some real strong adjectives. We need to roll those back. But it's one of those things where it's just like, it's hard to get all the pieces to turn correctly for that. And I can't put the level of effort and time into it that I want. And so usually LFR is a good fallback for that. And yes, you can beat them all in one day if you dedicate yourself to it. But honestly, it's just such a bad experience that it's at the point where it's just like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to. I don't need to put
It really
myself through
depends on the
this.
Yeah.
group that
I
you get
s-
with.
I still have the quest to dip Vol'jin's junk in the blood god.
Yeah, that's the thing to do.
Title of the
I
show,
recommend-
folks.
Yeah. But I will say, so okay, being a horde and then getting changed to alliance is really interesting because when you get that section like told to you, the alliance are really brutal in the storytelling. So
Yeah.
when I play alliance, I am going to be really excited to see what do they actually say. Because there's no way that they actually just translated it over just perfect.
No,
Oh, yeah.
I heard that raid uses unreliable narrator pretty heavily on both sides. Like, both sides are like, and then they were total dicks, and then they killed people for no good reason. So I think that's cool. I think that's a cool storytelling device. I don't think it's cool when they pretend like that's literally actually what happened, but I do think it's cool when it's clearly coming from somebody's storytelling and, they probably made it up.
I will say that I was very glad that my Worgen was turned into a troll because I'm used to the troll and used to the animations. Because for me, it's a very visual thing. Like the casting animation, like helps me get my timing right.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I was any other race, it would like really mess up my timing on all my rotations. So
let me tell you about the absolute best to do. Be a panda, because you don't change.
Yeah, that's true.
There you
At
go.
all. It is the same character model even. They don't even mess around with that at all. Like, I'm a red panda. They don't even turn me into a black and white panda.
They don't even just
Like,
randomize you. You're just like, nope, it's just me still.
See, I was curious about that. I'm like, okay, am I going to still have the same hair, facial features, everything like that? So I'm like, okay, you can't take the helm off. You can't do any of that. I'm like, how am I going to do this? I'm like, oh, I have Moros's like armor polish. So I clicked on that and boom, naked and yep, same exact character and everything.
So basically what Ben did is he snuck in with the Alliance, killed Rastakhan, and then when like the Alliance was trying to escape, he kind of just held back and then was like, oh yeah, friends, like let's go kill Jaina now. Like
I'm the one
for the
telling the
Horde.
story. I'm the narrator. Hey guys, this is what happened.
Standing over the dead body, they loot him. They're like, "Are you coming?" He'll be like, "I will be just a moment." And then the Horde comes around the corner, and he just goes, "No!"
Oh, you just missed them. They went that way.
That's how I wonder, like, how I actually got the loot from finding opulence and everything. This makes a lot more sense because, I was basically told the story, and then someone's like, "Here, have this crown," and I'm like, "Okay," and just put it on. It makes no sense. But hey, whatever. It's cool. I got a crown out of it.
So I don't know. Side topic that just popped into my head. You guys played Hotel Roulette yet for maybe a possible BlizzCon date?
Not yet.
Oh, geez, this could go places. If I were to say that I'm not 100% sure if I would go.
Oh.
I don't know. You know what? We don't need to get into it. We will see what happens. I have not played Hotel Roulette yet, though.
I've got some rooms on the table, so we'll see where the where it ends up.
At least Frosty will be there. I'll be home.
Yeah, she might not be there this year.
I won't be there.
Completely understand why.
Once again, I feel like I heard one maybe and one definite. I feel like not since John went from loving his raid team to liking his raid team has there been such a quick turnaround on the way things were. But yeah, it's understandable.
Okay, so speaking of BlizzCon and kind of going back to the factions, I'm really curious as to how you think that's going to play in this year. So, Battle for Azeroth still, very new when it kind of came out last year. Like, right? It came out before BlizzCon, right?
Yeah, they were talking about the first patch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with all the stuff that's been going on, like in previous BlizzCons, everyone was like, "Oh, for the Alliance, for the Horde," and no one was ever mad about anything. They're just, hey, we both love the game and faction pride, stuff like that. With the stuff that's going on and how very tribal some people are starting to get, do you think that could potentially affect how everybody's treating each other at BlizzCon?
I wonder if we'll see more Horde infighting than anything, because they'll be like, "What? Support Sylvanas? get out of here. You're not part of the horde.
Well, I mean,
True horde.
last year even, that was kind of a joke. We saw people with like "Not my war chief"
Yeah.
signs being carried around, and it was funny. It was a joke.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we're gonna see fighting.
nah.
I think honestly, I think people have cooled. I think it probably was worse last year than it would be this year. I think now we've had a year to be like, all right, whatever. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. I think I'm not worried about how the people are gonna treat each other. I'm worried about how the poor devs are gonna be treated this year.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I worry more about that.
And not from like I'm not trying to get into like scary violence things, although I'm sure there are people that are going to say stupid things, but treat devs nice is going to be the preface I put on top of all of this. But we're at
just people in general too.
Sure, yeah, some people. We're at I don't know why I decided to put that in there.
No, that's against what I stand for, but whatever. John.
Anyway, sometimes I like to just be controversial, see what better reaction. No, treat devs nice is what I'm trying to say. But we're at a point where people feel like, and whether you believe it's justified or not, that we need a little good faith from Blizzard as a company. And if I'm being honest, I usually am the first person to go to bat for Blizzard and give them the benefit of the doubt. And even in saying this, I'm still saying treat devs nice. But yeah, I think Blizzard owes its fan base some good faith. I think BlizzCon last year was an extreme disappointment for a Blizzard fan. And I think the year that has followed has been awful to be a Blizzard fan. Yeah. I think that makes it very difficult to go into BlizzCon wanting to celebrate. I'll celebrate the other people that are there for sure, the communities we've built, the people that are going, my friends. That all sounds wonderful. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people at Blizzard I adore and think are great people, but that company needs to send some good faith our way, and that's what I want to see from BlizzCon.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a healthy amount of, maybe skepticism going into even opening ceremonies, just wondering like, what's going to happen, little apprehension there of like...
They're going to double down on Diablo Immortal.
You notice we've heard like zero about that. Like,
I feel bad about that because, it's not a bad game.
Yeah. Like the game itself is actually pretty fun, I thought. And I don't like mobile games, so...
I mean, the demo was solid.
Yeah. Like, okay, so I could just imagine everybody sitting in the seats and everything, just totally waiting for BlizzCon to happen, being like, man, I wish I could play a Blizzard game on my phone right now. And then be all, F Diablo Immortal. It's like, ah! It's like, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah. And I don't even mean from announcements either. Like, they could come out and they could be like, Warcraft 4, Overwatch 2. You want Diablo 4? We got that as well. Look at this. Games. Check under your seat. There's a game. That's nice. Sure, I would be excited. Yes, of course. Who wouldn't be excited? But there's a difference between having announcements and being good to your fans.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of people are looking for Blizzard to kind of hopefully make like a turn back towards those core values that we've seen them have for years, and kind of maybe push away that corporate look that we've started to talk about more and more recently.
Yeah, I agree. They need to do something, because I know a lot of people that there's not as much like talk about BlizzCon this year. Like, haven't tickets gone on sale years previous by now?
Well, this would be about the time we would start getting at least like the dates.
So, I mean,
what if they just take the year off and do, I don't know, restructuring or something?
I think they should. If you want,
I don't see it as a bad thing if they did. Honestly,
we already know that they don't really have any big game releases coming for this next year. So anything that they announce at BlizzCon would be like down the road quite a ways.
It's not the first
So
time they've taken a year off either.
it's not out of the question.
And they already have things like, like Gamescom, which is a convention that they don't have to put on, that they can do announcements at, and they have in the past. So.
Exactly.
But
If you're, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just saying, but it's like BlizzCon is such an event for them. Like it brings in a lot of people, and I think that it generates a lot of good, happy feelings towards the company to have those celebrations. But I don't know. Like
it's a tough decision. I mean,
I don't see them taking the year off, but then like part of me sees that they could take the year off. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely two different things we're talking about: is will they and should they? I don't know if they will. I do think that they should, because I don't see them between now and November putting out enough goodwill to turn people around. I don't. Maybe they put out enough to the point where people get back to being ambivalent and somewhere in the middle, but I don't see them turning around this sudden, like, I mean, people used to forgive Blizzard for everything. I mean, some people held them to the fire no matter what they did.
Yeah, like
but
you.
Not me. Shut up.
I know.
The thing is, I don't see them turning that around by November. And I think if you're gonna throw a big convention and you're gonna come out on stage as the new CEO and be like, "What up, BlizzCon?" Like, does anybody want right now to go, "Yeah"? I don't. I don't think a lot of people are really feeling the "What up, BlizzCon" right now. Now, if they can turn that around, I think we can get there. But I don't think we're gonna be there by November. And I think if they took a year to say, "Hey, let's show you what we're gonna do," and then celebrate together, that's a hell of a lot better than come in hostile and try to convince you that we're gonna win you back.
I love that idea. And I mean, if you think about it, so let's go off of the major properties. Diablo, well, if it's not Diablo 4, you know how people are going to feel about that.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as we know of, nothing's happening with StarCraft 2 right now, which, I mean, there could be something, but I don't think that it's going to be anywhere close to where it would just be more than a StarCraft blah, 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 like a Metroid Prime 4 logo or something, something like that. They cut back a bunch of community stuff with Hearthstone. They cut back a ton of community stuff with Heroes. Overwatch is basically the Overwatch League at this point.
Yeah.
And previous BlizzCons, when other stuff wasn't really going on, was very much driven by World of Warcraft. So I don't know. I mean, granted, we're talking as people who have been to multiple BlizzCons, who've been to, been there many times. I know that there's going to be plenty of people out there who are like, "Are you crazy? I would go if I had, to cut off my leg," because they've never done it before. And I get that. Going and seeing the people is the best part of BlizzCon.
By far.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if they have one, I'm going to try to go. That's what I do. But if they didn't this year, it'd be okay. Then we just meet up and go to Star Wars Land at Disneyland,
Yeah, exactly. Just a different kind of vacation.
Yeah. I mean, they may do a BlizzCon, and I may opt not to attend BlizzCon, but if all my friends are going, I might opt for a California trip at a real convenient time to see a bunch of people I care about. And then I can, if I feel in the mood, go home and watch the awkwardness live streamed through a virtual ticket, or whatever I feel the need to do. So, BlizzCon is not necessarily just Blizzard and just the event. And again, I'm not saying that they won't have anything to talk about, but for me, there is a sense of it's a celebration of us celebrating them, and they say it themselves, them celebrating us as their community. And right now, they're not people I want celebrating me.
Yeah, right now it's not quite a two-way street right now. So.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need your celebrations. Go fix your shit and then come back and we can talk about it. So.
Yeah. And one of the big things too that I just want to make sure we touch on before we close is that, we see the business decisions. That's what we're seeing right now. That's a lot of what's going on. And something that I want to make sure everybody does remember, and I know that you guys do, obviously, but I just want to make sure that the audience knows too, is that Blizzard is full of people who are passionate and love the work that they do, and they're pouring themselves and their hearts into it. So, like John was saying, don't be dicks to devs, or he said something nicer than that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Like seriously, we're seeing more of the business side than we probably have in the past 10 years, and there's still plenty of people there who love their work and pour themselves into it, and they're trying to make the best games for us. So once we get more connection with that feeling again, I think everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they definitely, like, in those halls of Blizzard right now, there are still people that they're putting their entire life into whatever game they're working on, whatever project they're working on, and what, like you said, we're seeing more of the corporation, more of the actual business part of it, more than like the creative, exciting game parts and things like that. But yeah, I mean, everybody that I've ever met at Blizzard, no matter what their job is, I mean, they're passionate about making these games or helping these games come to fruition either way. So
we were having a discussion about this on my other podcast, Pause Screen, that no dev sets out to make a terrible game. They want to make a game that's good, that people will like. Now, it doesn't mean that they're completely infallible. Like, they can make mistakes that the majority of people won't like. It's just, we got to get the communication back. We got to get that trust and that back and forth going.
I mean, just think of, like, in the past, like even like a year ago, if you look like today, a year ago, like think about how much trust we had in Blizzard even just back then.
Yeah.
Like a year ago, like we would have just been like, yeah, sure, we trust you with whatever, right? Like, so they got to just get back to that part, and it's going to take some time, of course, to convince a lot of people that have been drastically turned off from what they're doing right now. So.
Yeah, and there will be people that will say, well, you all were naive for putting that much faith in a company. And yeah, probably. But guess what? That company was doing a pretty good job of giving us that illusion at the end of the day. And so I guess oh, yes, chat room, I will kill WoW. For those that don't know, Allura in the chat room has been slowly guessing at what is going to be the thing that kills WoW, and we've only finally come to me. And yes, over what episode are we on?
314.
Over 314 episodes. It's been death by 1,000 cuts. Now we've got a ways to go before episode 1,000, but we're on our way. We're gonna do it.
But what's going on is Blizzard's just stretching the expansions out until they can get, until they can get John's model perfectly right in game to be the final boss.
Yeah, that's ultimately
And
what
you'll
it
kill
is.
I can see that.
Yeah.
All the polygons. That's what John is.
Yeah,
we need a new shader system, or I'm not going to be in the game.
Yeah, it's gonna be real good. It's gonna be real good.
Yeah,
but
slightly.
I just want to say my final point in closing with this particular topic is just this. I don't care if the person who works there's title is Lord Business, Leader of Business, Maker of Business Decisions, who is also in charge of business. Nobody there deserves to be singled out and threatened or treated poorly. You can hate a company. It's easy. I do it all the time. You can hate the corporate machine. It's easy. I do it all the time. But treat people well. And treat the people there well. Because even Lord Business, Master of all business, in charge of business, who loves business, is trying. And is doing a job in support of this community. And at the end of the day, we can voice displeasure with it. You don't have to be happy about what they're doing. Obviously, we're not. We've just sat here and talked about how none of us are feeling woo Blizzard at the moment. But that doesn't mean that the people there are any less passionate or any less important or, deserving any level of ire. So please take that away from what I'm saying. If I got you riled up in any way, use it constructively, please.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway.
I think when J. Allen Brack was announced as like the CEO, a lot of people were like, oh, he's kind of more, he's not like the Mike Morheim, he's more of a business kind of guy, or kind of whatever. A lot of people had some things to say about him that maybe wasn't so favorable. The day after BlizzCon, we got to meet him. We talked to him for a little bit at headquarters, and
It was
yeah,
really cool. He actually he was leaving work that day or something, and he actually stopped and talked to us for quite a while.
That's cool.
It was
I mean,
nice.
even no matter what you hear about him, like he genuinely seems like he wants the company to succeed. He wants it to be like the glory days that we always talk about, and he's passionate about it too. And you think, I thought about it later on, like, would you want to be the CEO in charge of Blizzard? I mean, aside from the money that you'd make and the access you'd have, like, would you want to be the one who has to make these decisions? Do you greenlight this? Do you go, like, I can't even imagine, like, the pressure that would be on top of running a company like that. So
Yeah. So with that, again, be good to the devs. I mean, we wouldn't be having this discussion if the four of us weren't passionate about this stuff.
yeah.
And we're just always hoping for better. That's all.
And
Absolutely.
I mean, and at the end of the day, like, we love World of Warcraft. I mean, the game's awesome. It brings us together. It's changed our lives in tons of ways and given us lifelong friends that are amazing. So I'm never, gonna like sit here and say like, it's been a terrible experience at all. So and I'm still enjoying the game as it is right now, to be honest. So.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's always great to be on your show.
We always love, like, when you sent us a message the other day, I was like, yes, finally get to talk to him again. It's been so long.
It has been.
I know. I think it's been since BlizzCon, probably.
I think so,
while.
actually. Yeah, but until next time we have you guys on, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Frosty Fox. You can also find our show at Worgenhau on Twitter, and everything for our network is frozenfoxmedia.com.
Yeah. On Twitter, I'm Kazul G Fox. You can find links to everything else there.
And if you look up Kaz Play Anything, you're probably going to run into her.
That's right.
That's awesome. I love you guys. John.
Love you guys too.
Where can people find you, John?
You said that in such a warm,
I
fuzzy
know,
way. But I know it wasn't at me, but it was
No,
while
it
you were
had nothing to do
introing
with
me, and I
you.
was just like, stop it. man.
Let's try this again. Hold on. You guys are great. Thank you so much. John, where can people find you?
Oh, thanks, Ben. Hey, everybody. If you want to follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. I will let you know where I will be. But hey, there's a predictable series of places that I will be that you can guess from week to week. The first of those places is Core.
Core!
Okay, we did it. And
you missed it again.
so Core is a video game show, and this past week we got very deep into the nature of timed exclusivity for game releases, which is a big hot topic at the moment. And unlike Core, that used to talk about Heroes of the Storm, where we just all agreed on everything, we have very different opinions on what kind of practice this is. So if you want to hear a spirited, friendly debate amongst friends, check out Core. We talk about video games. Oh, look at that!
I missed that one.
I got a twofer in there.
I usually don't do two.
The other place you can catch me is on a show called There Will Be Dungeons, which is a Dungeons & Dragons podcast. We are just about to wrap up the final week off of our little 3-week break between the first season and the second season, which means we are concluding with part 2 of my double shot, one shot, whatever you want to call it, adventure.
It's your double shot.
Double shot.
Double shot. Yeah. What a double shot of adventure. Thank you.
Yes, this is when you're really tired and you need a double shot of adventure.
Yeah.
So we're going to be wrapping that up tomorrow. That's Saturday, April 6th, for those of you who need the exact date. That seemed professional. Good me. Check that out. Therewillbedungeons.com. That's the website. Nailed it. First try. And, then we will be back for season 2, which we are really excited. It's going to be launching with a whole new storyline. Bo's taking everything he learned in the first season and putting it into the second. We've got a couple cool announcements on the first episode of that, so you will definitely want to check that out. Again, therewillbedungeons.com. Ben,
Yes, John.
I just talked a lot.
Yes, you did.
You should talk a lot about where people can find
Okay.
you.
Great. You can find me on Twitter. I am at Ben the Mage. I am not at Ben the Mage. did you guys hear?
Oh, yeah, we
Nevermore?
heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, we all heard that.
You know what? You say it for like 300 episodes, and kind of get stuck in there. I am at Ben Bumhofer on Twitter. Oh, geez. Anyways, I've also been streaming usually Tuesday nights. It seems to be that's the time that I'm doing that. That is twitch.tv/Ben Bumhofer. See, it's the same thing.
Oh,
Uh,
synergy.
Yeah. This past week, it was an episode of Ben versus Never. Nevermore and I, we played Yoshi's Crafted World, and that game is so great. It is so cute and
Yeah,
fun.
we got to get that.
Oh yeah, it's pretty fantastic. Anyways, other than that, I also do The Last of Us, which I'm probably going to maybe be streaming over the weekend. Possibly, I'm not
Nice.
sure. Just because that game's fantastic, and the last time I tried to play it, my router died in the middle of it, so I got pissed off and just turned off the game. So I don't know where it autosaved. So it's gonna be interesting to jump in, because yeah, John, let's put it this way. I made a new friend, and then we got attacked, and the last bit that I tried was trying to get around a whole bunch of clickers in a
I
warehouse.
sent you a text message about this, and I'm so mad, Ben. I'm hopping mad. We need to talk
Oh.
about your Last of Us strategy because, gosh dang it, Ben. You are playing as the most OP character known to mankind.
And I
that's the
didn't
part of
know
the
this.
game where the game becomes the easiest, and you're like, why the hell have I been playing this weasel the entire game? Like, I should have been playing as this other character. They're a million times better than the character I've been
Because
for
John,
most
let me
of
put it this way:
game.
I just got to that point. I haven't found out that she's the most OP character yet.
Yes, you have. You have the thing you need to know that she's super OP, and you're in the situation where you learn it. And you keep getting eaten. I watched you get eaten a million times when you shouldn't have been.
Okay, then what's the thing that I have that means that I'm most OP?
You know how you can instantly kill a clicker by shivving them? She has
Yeah.
an infinite shiv. She can shiv every single clicker non-stop in one
I did
hit.
not know she had an infinite shiv.
It's so good.
Okay,
Now you
now
know.
I know, and knowing is half the battle. The other half is shivving.
Yes. She's
All right.
amazing. As soon I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what this game should have
didn't-
been this whole time.
I didn't realize that it was infinite. Now, oh god, that changes everything.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yeah,
trying
it
to sneak
does.
around. I didn't freaking know. Now I'm just gonna go up and just go, take that to all of them. So, okay. Well, anyways, aside from streaming, I have another podcast out there now.
Oh.
Yeah, so Ludra and I started a new show. It is called Box Fort, where we talk about geeky stuff in our box fort. Right now, it is not on anything yet except for just the website, which is boxfortshow.com. You can get episode 0 there. I know that's where, submitting to things to get the RSS feed up and all that stuff, and none of that's made yet, but once that's out, I'll let everybody know. But yeah, it's just us being geeky. So if you ever listen to Battle Pets, it's like the first half hour of Battle Pets, but an hour now.
Oh.
So, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And
Other
everybody
than that,
loves a
though-
box fort. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why we called it the Box Fort. That and Nevermore tossed that out as an idea, and we're both like, ooh. So credit where credit's due. It's a good name.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, this show, Azeroth Roundtable, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. If you have any questions, comments, want to tell us about how right or wrong we are, you can send those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. If you want to basically tell off John because he likes the Horde and hates the Alliance, you can also send those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com.
Shout out to that emailer. I just want to say real quick, we got an email about me, always bad talking the Alliance and talking up the Horde. First of all, I will just clarify the point I made at the end of my response email. They were very nice and they were very cordial. They did spell my name wrong, which hurt a little bit, but I got over it. And beyond that, I just want to say, look, Alliance, I'm a little hard on you guys. I'm a little hard on you guys because right now you're in such a good position. You've got the
Mhm.
moral high ground. You're the one killing all of our people. I mean, aside from the whole
You
fire
took
tree.
over our capital.
Yeah, you just blew up the Capitol. Like, you're in a real good spot. I feel like you can get your legs kicked a couple of times. Like, I just feel like I'm coming up and booting you in the shin a little bit playfully. And, you know, if things get real rough for you, I'll probably lay off a little bit. But in the meantime, you can take a couple little punches, a couple little jabs here and there.
The
And
Worgen, we can take it.
Yeah,
yeah,
see,
well,
look.
I mean the Worgen can. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
Yeah,
I don't know about the gnomes.
Besides, if you attack a Worgen too much and they whine, you make you feel bad.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's an
exactly.
extra
Right?
superpower you have.
Sarah
It's not-
McLachlan music starts playing in the background, and you're just like, oh god, I'm sorry.
When
Also,
you
there's like an ASPCA booth in front of you.
Yeah, just when you just a Worgen. Yeah, I'm not going to continue that because Twitch will cut us off.
Yeah,
Um,
you were nailing it so hard.
Yep, exactly. But so other than emails, you can also catch us every Friday night. Currently, we are streaming at 8 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/AzerothRT. And also, I don't even know what I talked about anymore because we cut in the middle of that, so I'm just going to say AzerothRoundtable.com. That's where we are.
All right, yeah, just
Everything.
yell websites at people. That fixes the problem. Hey,
Google.com.
that's who needed promotion. Good job, Ben.
YouTube.com. Yeah, we're on YouTube. We never talk about the YouTube. If you want to see what we actually look like and see the video of this, go to YouTube and search for Azeroth RT.
Just don't watch the last episode. It doesn't have the video. We had a lot of problems last episode, but it'll be up this time, I assure you.
We've
I
all
love
been
it.
there.
And shout out to the person who's been going through and watching us on YouTube who emailed us about episode 100 something. Good on you. We don't even go back and watch ourselves.
No. No.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
No.
All those episodes stay in the archive for a reason.
Yeah, you think we're going to know what we talked about when we're done with this? No.
There's a lot of ways you can support this show. One of them is going back through all the episodes and sending us emails that pertain to old shows we hardly remember. If you want to know how far back we remember our episodes, the answer is we don't.
I mean, we might not even remember the beginning of this episode.
I'm not sure how we began. I think it was high energy.
There was a lot of black and white and
Mm-hmm.
Red
a
all
lot of
over.
diseased-looking hosts.
I
Yeah.
still
and-
kind of am.
Ben's got the jaundice.
Yeah.
It's all right. Hey, everybody, John here. We're going to talk about patreon.com for a moment. Just cutting into the show here. Not actually, it's still live. Our guests are still here watching me do this. It just suddenly sounded like we cut into an advertisement. So let me break the fourth wall. They're still here. I just cut into that live, but I made it sound like all of a sudden the show just cut off. And hey, everybody, John here. We got to do a Patreon advertisement. You see, in the middle of the last show, I started making a joke about how the Patreon ad was live, and then we forgot to finish it up. So Ben had to come back in and edit it in, and now this is the... you guys ruined the mystery. They thought this was a cut-in. Hey, everybody, John here. We had to do this a third time because we all had so much fun we forgot to do the Patreon ad. But I'm here, and we're just going to wing it. And this is a separate recording and not at all attached to what we were doing before. Special thank you to the Murloc Club. That's Brandon O, Caleb M, Jesse O, Jim G, Haster, no last initial supplied. Sash, he wrote Kitty Dreams, and I read it. And Aaron, also no last initial given. Now I'm going to find the button here, and we're going to play a little sound effect of Ben. Hold on, and...
John, you're a jerk.
Oh, wrong button. Hold on. All right, that's the meaning. Thank you. That's anyway, we're going to go back to the live show where I think we'll probably pick up where everybody's laughing, and we forgot to do a Patreon ad. Anyway, thanks for supporting us, patreon.com/AzerothRT. Oh my gosh, guys!
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
seriously.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Doesn't
Anyway,
matter.
we'll just end the show.
anyways,
We should just end
But
the show.
I gotta say, Kaz, Frostee, again, thank you very much for joining us. It has been an absolute treat. You guys are always so much fun.
No, thank you so much.
It's always fun to be on.
Aw.
There was a lack from last time. You know, I just have to bring it up because it was such a popular topic of Malfurion.
Oh yeah,
Oh, how Malfurion has grown since then.
that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, now Taronda has dark eyes.
Yeah.
That's her character growth.
What happened to your eyes, my love?
I put in contacts.
Can you pop them out? That's kind of freaking me out. I don't know why Malfurion's Canadian now, but I did it and then it kind of made sense. Anyway.
It's because he used to be so nice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you. So until next time, chat room, you guys have been awesome. Just, keep coming back. We like you guys. And until next time, I think I said that like 4 times by now.
Yeah,
but
until next time.
yeah, until next time.
Until next time.
Till next time.
Come on, Cass.
Bye.
And be good to each other. See you next time, guys.
Oh, I forgot the Patreon ad.
And that's where we stop it.
Yeah!
Nice.
Good one. Seriously, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's always so much fun to seeing you and talk to you and stuff.
Yeah, likewise. It's great to be able to be on. I know Kaz is glad that she can actually be on podcasts now.
Oh yeah. So I did like wear myself out today. It took me all day taking breaks, but I did clean the bathroom. So that was my accomplishment today.
Well, hey, you know what? Sometimes that's all you need.
Does it mean the same thing if
tiny
you say
accomplishment.
baby steps?
Yep.
There you go. There you go.
You know what, John? For that, I'll give you a cookie.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.